Hey guys, and welcome to another Dead by Daylight video. So this video is going to be about matchmaking. It's going to be about the pros and the cons to the new matchmaking system that's coming out in the next patch. It was tested on the PTB. Obviously I didn't get to test it on the PTB because I was on vacation during the PTB and it was over by the time that I was able to play it. So it's a shame, but I will be waiting for when it gets released. I believe it's supposed to be released on the 20th of November with the new killer. So obviously all of these things I haven't touched, I haven't played with because I was away during the PTB. But anyway, so basically what I'm going to do is I'm going to go over some of the stuff that's talked about in the forum post. I'm going to touch on some points. I will post the forum post in the description so you guys can go and read it yourself if that's what you want. I know a lot of videos have been done on matchmaking already. However, I hope that my video gives you a different insight or at least a different point of view on this matchmaking system. Yeah, so basically what I want to touch on first before we get started in the thing is I would appreciate it if you could hit that red subscribe button. 51.3% of current people watching my videos are not subscribed. It's completely free. It helps if you like it, subscribe. If you decide later on that you don't like it, you can always unsubscribe later on. But it really helps the channel grow. It helps me reach more people. And I would really appreciate it if you guys can just hit that red button. And after that, let's get straight into the video. So basically with the matchmaking, how it works right now is you basically perform a one-on-one with the killer, which basically means every game it's not 4 survivors versus 1 killer, it's 1 survivor versus 1 killer. If that survivor dies, they lose MMR and the killer gains. So if during a game you have 2 survivors that get out through the door and 2 survivors that die on hook, the MMR of the killer doesn't go up and down. It will stay even. They'll lose 2 and they'll gain 2. The MMR on the survivors that escape will go up and the MMR on the survivors that died will go down. Now, this issue is it brings a lot of, especially in solo queue, it brings a lot of selfish gameplay. Which is why killers find it so easy to play in solo queue. And they don't like playing against Swifts. Because it comes down to the fact that it's easier to play against them. So basically, what this means is that they're going to be making changes. So basically, they're going to be doing what they call team-based ratings. So I'm just going to read this section. One challenge in a unique asymmetrical game like Dead by Daylight is how we handle most games. How we handle teams. Most games can check teams by who won the match and adjust their ratings accordingly. But this isn't possible in an asymmetrical game like ours, since killers are playing solo. To get around this, we treat each survivor to a separate one-on-one game. I like it how they use the word treat. I'll get back to that, just remember that. This way, the killer can gain rating by killing 3 survivors without the survivor that escaped losing a rating. While this works for everyone for themselves mindset, team-orientated survivors would often find it punishing to die heroically to save their team. This would be treated like a loss. In the current game mode, if you die, regardless how you died, your MMR would go down, so it would be a loss. This is the most common feedback we've received since the introduction of matchmaking system. We're pleased to say that we have a solution incoming. Starting with the 6.4.0, survivor ratings will be based on both individual and team performance. I like the word I like it how they use performance. Whether you gain or lose rating will still be determined by whether or not you escape, but how much your rating will be affected by how many survivors escape the trial. And then it says, for each teammate that escapes, you gain more rating if you escape, you lose less rating if you die. For each teammate that dies, you gain more rating if you escape. You lose more rating if you die. For example, if you die and every other survivor escapes, your rating will hardly drop at all. In other words, keep your team alive for the best results. This will change and aim to put more emphasis on team play without removing the lone wolf playstyle. Now, I like it how they say in there that if you die but every other survivor escapes, your rating will hardly drop at all, which means your MMR score will still be going down. It'll just be going down by less, which is still, in my opinion, the same thing. Like a lot of people that play Dead by Daylight, unless you're comp playing, don't care about our MMRs. Like, I don't care about my MMR score. I play for blood points. I like to get my rank 1 by the end of the month. I get my blood points and stuff like that. That's what I care. That's what I like to do. That's what I care about. I don't care if I die in the game as long as I pipped. And when I get to like eerie ranks, as long as I safety. That's all that matters to me. Like, I really don't care about my MMR score. And I believe that Dead by Daylight is heading in the right direction. The problem is I just don't think they are getting out of the mindset that they're in. Like, yes, the killer is a solo player. The killer plays on their own. I understand this. That's great. But the problem is when you're basing an MMR score based on kills alone, and then you have a perk like Noed. And now, I'm not complaining about Noed. If killer wants to run Noed, go for it. Go for it, by all means. I'm not complaining if you do run it. I'm not complaining if you don't run it. The same as I wouldn't expect you to complain when I run Dead Hard and stuff like that. But I like it how they use the word asymmetrical games. It is. At the end of the day, when it comes down to it, one side is solo, the other side is a team. But the problem is when you're basing something on an escape, that doesn't initiate skill. Just because 4 people got out doesn't mean that they're better than the killer. It could just mean the killer got crappy RNG. If the killer killed all survivors, it could not necessarily be because the survivors are bad or the killer's really good. It could just be crappy RNG. Or you can get one teammate that does something so silly, it completely snowballs the entire team. Like, these are things that do happen in Dead by Daylight, but this is the problem and this is the issue, is personally, I don't think Dead by Daylight really play their own game. They don't see it from our perspective. I don't think that they play Survivor and Killer. I don't think that they understand what the killer goes through. I don't think that they understand what the survivors go through. Now, I understand, and this is always the issue, I even have it with my own server. I do development for my own server, and my players probably have a better understanding of my servers than I do. Because they play the game, and they learn things. I may know the code of what they're playing, but they know the actual, what the game does. So, there's a couple of things in this statement that I chuckle at. Like, how they use the everyone for themselves, which is true. Right now, everyone does things for themselves. But then they come back to this team-orientated survivors. They want to bring back the team. But you want to bring the team, but you don't want to get rid of the lone wolf playstyle. You can't have both. You either want a team game, or you want a lone wolf. I think if you die, but all 3 of your survivors, or all 3 survivors get out, your MMR should not go down. The MMR of the killer should go down because 3 survivors escaped. If 2 survivors, you could play a one-on-one game with the killer, but have the survivors' MMR be completely different because it's based off of you create the divide within the thing. So yes, the killer's having a one-on-one with each survivor in its own playstyle, but the survivors are basing their MMR on whether they get out off of So you should be able to do it that, let's say, for instance, 2 people die, 2 people get out. But with how the gameplay was the entire game, you should be able to do it that technically no one could lose MMR. Because it was a good game. It was a high-skilled game. These people should be matched together. Therefore, no one's MMR went down or up because of the way that the game was played. Because it takes other things on. Like using... all they're doing now is they're using asymmetrical as... Patrick would say, the nuance of Dead by Daylight. You can work out for ranking and blood points. You can take in like how much gen time you've done, how many totems you've done, if you got chased by the killer, if you lost chases with the killer, if the killer won chase it. You can work out all that stuff for blood points, but you cannot work that out for MMR and actually make it based off of skill. Like, I can't call matchmaking right now skill-based matchmaking because all the killer needs is one good perk and good RNG. And they could cause a snowball, which could give the team a 4K, even though they got no hooks the entire game. Let's say, for instance, and I've had this happen a few times. Killer all game hasn't gotten a single hook. Obviously, clearly, getting outplayed every step of the way. Clearly should not be in the MMR score of these survivors. These survivors are far too skilled for this killer. Now, I don't mean that is in a derogatory term that the killer's just bad. It's just these survivors shouldn't be in the same class as this killer. But let's say, for instance, now, so the end games come on, no hooks, exit gates are powered. The exit gates are very close to each other. Let's say you're going up against a killer like Nurse or Huntress or Blight or Wesker, which is able to get across to move around quickly. Now, they've chased this one survivor the entire game. And that survivor went down because of Noed. No, didn't even take a hit all game, but went down because of Noed because they finally got a hit in and Noed procced. Now, survivors have a choice. During while this survivor is down, they have a choice to open the exit gates and just get out and leave that survivor to die. Which means that survivor is going to lose MMR. If that survivor cares about MMR, it means they're going to lose MMR. The killer then, with perks, let's say, for instance, they're running Noed and they've got Agitation and Iron Grasp and to try and get survivors, they basically walk you over to by where the totem is. So now they can watch, not only can they watch both gates, they can watch the survivor and they can watch the totem. Which now means that killer is now back in control of the game. Because if you go and open that exit gate and she throws a hatchet, you'll be instantly downed. Doesn't matter what you're at, you'll be instantly downed. Now, if you try and go in for a rescue, you'll probably be doing a trade. If not, now bear in mind, once the exit gates are powered, off the record, all of them perks, Decisive Strike or anything like that, do not activate, which means the killer knows once the exit gates are powered, all they've got to do is wait 20 seconds at least to be able to down you during an endurance hit. Now, yes, I understand if you're injured, you've got Dead Hard. Bearing in mind, Dead Hard is a very difficult perk now to use. Only people that are fairly higher skilled are able to use it. Trust me, there's games where even I go to Dead Hard and it either just doesn't work due to latency, or I just didn't press it in fast enough because you've got half of a second to make the decision on whether you're going to use it or not. It involves one button press, but you got literally like a half of a second, and a lot of killers wait out Dead Hard. And they'll sit there because you give an animation. Which is why my personal opinion with Dead Hard is Dead Hard should either give you the distance or take the hit. If you take the hit, then it doesn't give you the distance. If you don't take the hit, then it gives you the distance. You could even wait until after the animation to make sure that they didn't take the hit. But then it should give you like a little sprint burst. That way then the perk isn't absolutely useless if you time it wrong. Now, I'm not going to go into all that because I'm trying to make this a fairly short video. the video is already 15 minutes long. I'm trying to keep it a shorter video. So basically, with this mindset, I think Dead by Daylight is going in the right direction. I think they've got a long way to go. I think that they need to actually start involving more skill in their skill-based matchmaking, as they call it, and start using less of pure luck and RNG. Just one final thing, they talk about extended breaks. Basically, if you're away from the game for a while, if you get caught up in like life or stuff like that, and you're not able to play the game, obviously when you come back, you'll find yourself rusty and stuff like that. So basically, if you're away from the game for a period of time, the same as your rank resets, your MMR score will go down over time. That way then when you're coming back, you will be in the lower end of the MMR, but hopefully then you should be able to adjust yourself accordingly. So that's it for this video. I would really appreciate it, like I said at the start of the video, if you can hit that subscribe button if you like what you see. Remember, you can always unsubscribe later on, but it really helps the channel. We're trying to hit 1,000 subscribers. Like I said, if we hit 1,000 subscribers, I will do a stream. I'm not sure whether I'm going to do the stream on Twitch or if I'm going to do it on YouTube. But I'll decide closer to the time and I'll let you guys know. But for now, we're just trying to hit that 1,000 sub mark. So just hit that button. If you've got any questions or you want to add something, or even if you just want to give your own opinion, maybe you disagree with something that I've said or you agree with something that I said, leave a comment. I'm always willing to open and have a forum for discussion. You can also reach out to me on Twitter as well if that's something that you guys do. I'm on Twitter. I'm trying to post more on Twitter. But obviously I know there's quite a bit of issues going on with Twitter right now, so I've not been as active on Twitter as I usually am. But in the meantime, just leave a comment, leave a like, subscribe to the channel, and honestly, it's really appreciated, guys. Thank you, and see you in the next video.